Welcome to Broken, Alaska, the city with a future. Brought to you in part by generous grants from the Broken Alaska Chamber of Commerce, the State of Alaska Extremely Small Town Development Program, and Brickco Enterprises.
We at the Broken Chamber of Commerce would like to welcome you to Broken, Alaska, a cozy town snuggled in a small inlet, home to 71 full-time residents. The population swells to almost 300 each week when the budget-friendly cruise ship, the Queen of the Gulls, docks in our harbor. Visitors are amazed at the beauty and charm of our little town, and we'd like to show you just a bit of what awaits you when you sign on for the Alaskan adventure of a lifetime. After humble beginnings as a rough and tumble logging camp, Broken found its place in history in 1923 when President Warren G. Harding stopped here and became the first U.S. president to visit Alaska. Documents from that trip, as well as artifacts from the great man himself, are here on display in the Warren G. Harding Museum, right here on Front Street. The president's remarks on that historic day were brief but powerful and inspired the locals of Broken to put away their chainsaws and make something great of themselves. Here is an actual recording of what Harding had said that day.
Thank you for coming out today. This is a nice little place you have here.
This museum even has the very outhouse in which he relieved himself right after that wonderful speech. Although there is a highway connecting Broken to the rest of the state, and seaplanes are a fairly common sight, the majestic Queen of the Gulls cruise ship has brought more people into Broken than ever before. When the residents see that boat on the horizon, gliding over the waves toward our town, shouts ring out from all around, "Hey, that boat is coming again!" Yeah, the cruise ship comes to Broken like a harbinger of joy. Here, we'll see one of the first residents you meet. It's Bert. He's a retired member of London's Metropolitan Police Service, or a copper, as he might say. Hi, Bert. I see you're painting delightful caricatures of the people. What can you tell us? Have you sold many caricatures today?
Well, I've done about maybe 5 or 6 so far today. You know, it's doesn't sound like a lot, but I do live in a shack, so I keep the expenses low.
That's wonderful.
The art game is a good thing. I mean, I was a copper, as you mentioned, but after I had an injury and got the gammy leg, couldn't carry on with that, so...
So sorry to hear that.
Oh, it's all right.
Gosh, life as a copper in London must be so different than the small town of Broken.
Well, it is, and I try not to interfere with our local constable and give him too much advice. He seems to do a good job, fine young man.
Is there much crime here in Broken?
I think the last one we had was maybe 2 weeks ago.
What happened then?
Oh, it was a minor dust-up in the traffic. A couple of people came, there's no stoplights and no stop signs in Broken. And so 2 cars came, the same thing, name calling, oh, and, pow! And that was it.
I'm glad no one was hurt.
Well, one guy had shiner, but, he carried on.
I see.
I think he was from Austinville, if I recall.
Now, Austinville, that's the next town over, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's our arch rival.
It's a little bit bigger than Broken, too.
If you care for that sort of thing. Personally, I prefer to stay here and just, talk to the people who get off the cruise ships and hang out with the locals. Mark and Rose, I think, are probably my 2 best friends.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Can't think of any place I'd rather be.
How long have you lived here in Broken, Bert?
I think it was when Nixon was president that I first came to the States.
Did you study art in London?
I did, yes. I studied at the Gloucester Royal Academy.
I've never heard of it, but it sounds fabulous.
It's very British.
Now tell me, Bert, as someone from London, are you able to get tea and scones right here in Broken?
I do get some tea from Mark, and sometimes I stop by Rose's store and she makes me a cuppa. But scones, that's a much trickier thing to get a good recipe. I'm working with Mark and the chef over at the Harbour Palace restaurant and see if I can get them to do a good one.
Well, thank you so much, Bert. We're having a wonderful day here visiting Broken, Alaska. Say, where Where do you think we should go next on our tour?
I think Brick is around today. Father O'Bean is over at the Chernigosk. You might head into Felcher's and see if you can talk to Old Man Fletcher.
I might just do that.
And if you got time, come back later. I'll do your picture for free.
Bert, charming as always.
Aw, gee.
Come along now. We're going to walk up the hill toward Main Street. Here you'll find the heart of Broken, Alaska. You might notice the golden exterior of the Harbor Palace restaurant that Bert mentioned. This is Broken's answer to the fancy four-star restaurants of the great cities around the world. The head chef of the Harbor Palace, Charlie, is without doubt one of the finest cooks in town. If you stop in, ask to try his tiramisu. It's tiramisu made with moose milk, and it's even tastier than it sounds. Over here on the left is Broken's only service station, which is part of the Gasso chain. Though everyone in the world has heard of Gasso, you won't get that big chain feel here. Our station has been locally owned and operated by the same family for over 60 years. You know, they nearly had a revolution on their hands last year when the owner, Gus, started charging 50 cents to use the air pump. Some in the local chapter of the Shriners wanted to toss him out. Of course, in the end, he was allowed to stay. We come now to the only grocery store in Broken, Alaska, Felcher's. It's actually owned by the Fletcher family, but some years ago, the sign company refused to fix a rather unfortunate mistake, and the name Felcher's just stuck. Come on, let's go inside. Felcher's is owned by Old Man Fletcher. I'm not really sure what his real name is. He's been called Old Man Fletcher ever since he was a boy. Here you can find a delightful assortment of merchandise that will be perfect for your Alaskan adventure experience. Over here you can see this beautiful pyramid display of canned meat called Spim? Anyway, over here is a fabulous assortment of both weapons and ammunition. The sheriff had to make Old Man Fletcher install this locked case for the ammo last year after an unfortunate event during the annual town food drive. Apparently, Fletcher thought the locals collecting food were apocalyptic hoarders trying to rob him, and there were some shots fired.
All right, that's enough of you. You're not going to buy anything. Get out of my store. I don't have to take this kind of abuse from you.
No.
Go, scoot.
Anywho, here we are back outside on Main Street, and it's another beautiful day in the town of Broken. When you come visit, you'll definitely want to stop at George's Antique and Curio Shop. Here it is now. Come on in and take a look. Why, here's the proprietor now. Say, George, you have so many wonderful things on display here in your shop. Can you tell us a little bit about some of them?
Are you pointing at the Usik?
Yeah.
Well, you know, the walrus, the bone from a walrus, prick, penis.
That's just fascinating. You sure have a lot of knickknacks here. What would you tell the tourists who come to visit Broken?
Bring your money. But I'm going to warn you about the walrus penis's bone. If you're going to go into Canada, they'll confiscate it. They're not allowed to there.
Thanks for that helpful tip, George. Tell me, where do you acquire some of these magical things?
Well, mostly from dead people.
People who are residents in town who've died?
Yeah, they all pass away eventually.
Wow, George. Thank you for this wonderful tour of your shop.
Well, just send more people.
Oh, come on outside. Let's go. You know, I hear that down in Seattle, people just love developers. Something about the way they tear down cute old houses with character and build those giant boxes in their place must really be endearing. With that in mind, someone, somewhere, must really love Broken, Alaska's own real estate developer, Brett Brickman, better known as Brick to his mates, as they say in native Australia. Here we are at Brick's office on Main Street. Let's pop in and see what Brick is cooking up for Broken today. Hi, Brick. Thanks for having us into your office today.
Well, hi, Barbara.
Tell me, any big deals in the works for Broken, Alaska?
Well, you know, I'm on the Chamber of Commerce, and this documentary was actually thought of by me, and it's good to see it working, and it's good to see you, too.
Why, thanks, Brick. Now, you didn't grow up here in Broken, did you?
I grew up in all sorts of places, New York mainly.
Really? And what birth borough is that accent from?
That would be from Australia.
I'm not really familiar with that place in New York.
Really? Well, Barbara, let's do dinner and I'll tell you all about it. How's that?
I am not interested, but thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. I think you're doing a great job, and I think if people come to Broken, they are going to be surprised at how forward-thinking it is.
Have you been working on any specific buildings or fixing up the place?
Anything is feasible in Broken, I can tell you. Anything. Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, we've got big plans.
And do a lot of people move up to Broken? Are there homes available? Are there new places to live?
Yeah, I'm working on that. I'm actually thinking of finding a place for a hotel. I've got a few studies on the way right now, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what the Chamber of Commerce thinks when I put it to them.
You seem like a well-connected man, Brick.
I'm connected, Barbara. Very well connected. You know, this hotel deal's been going for, 5 years? But we're just on the cusp of major development here.
What are some other fabulous sights we might want to see here in Broken?
You want to go to the dinghy?
The dinghy?
The Twisted Dinghy. That's the cultural center of this town.
What a great name for a bar. The Twisted Dinghy.
Yeah, all right, well, I've got to take this call, so it's been really nice seeing you, Barbara.
After a hard day's work, or whatever you'd call what Brick does, he and many other locals can be found at Broken's favorite meeting place, the Twisted Dinghy. Don't let this gray facade fool you. There's always fun to be had in here. Come on in. The owner, Mark Shaughnessy, can mix a wicked Manhattan and grill up a great burger while you talk about the adventures of your day. When Mark's not behind the bar, he might be found at his other establishment, Brooks Books and Other Things, where he also scoops ice cream while sharing his encyclopedic knowledge of books from around the globe. Say, Mark, how's business today?
Oh, it's been just fine, Barbara. Thank you.
I hear you're really good at mixing drinks. What's the best thing I could have here at the Twisted Dinghy?
We've recently, in honor of our late lamented friend Lemmy Kilmister, added the Lemmy to our menu.
The Lemmy, that sounds wonderful.
Jack Daniels and Coke.
Delicious. I hear you have some food that you can get right along with your drinks. What are some of the delicious meals people could get here at the Twisted Dinghy?
We offer a nice slate of burgers with local meats, locally sourced. We can do venison, caribou, elk, sometimes moose. We can get them.
That sounds just delicious. Now tell me, you not only run this Twisted Dinghy bar, but you're also the owner and proprietor of Brooks Books and Other Things just down the road. What are some of the favorite books in Broken, Alaska?
The Fishers like to have an idea of local history. I've recently had a run on some supplies of the memoirs of Hannah Brees, who was a school teacher in Alaska from about 1904 to 1918.
Well, what are you reading these days, Mark?
Oh, I'm getting knee-deep into the memoirs of an old Montana cowboy, Teddy Blue Abbott.
Now, you're owner of 2 places here in town. It sounds like you're very busy. How do you find so much energy to keep going?
I've grown up here in Broken, and I have such a connection and feeling for the place. I never really think about being tired.
So you're a local.
I am. Born and bred. My mother was born here. She was one of the local people, native people, Kenai. My father immigrated here from the lower 48. Met my mother, and that's how I came to be.
Now, one thing that we hear about is how wonderful your coffee is. Do you think you could pour me a cup before we head out?
I must warn you, I do make what are traditional cups of coffee. If you're looking for anything fancier like you might find, say, in Seattle or Portland, I'd honestly recommend that you go to Rose. I hate to admit it, but she does do the arty coffee a little better than I do it.
Well, you know, artsy isn't always better. I'll take a nice cup of joe.
All right, truck stop coffee it is.
Thanks, Mark. If you're worried about missing out on the peak season of your favorite fruits and vegetables during your Alaskan adventure, worry no more. Broken has a top-notch produce stand located right here on Main Street. Wow, Rose, these starfruit look fantastic. Thank you. I know it's been a great year for fruits and vegetables. We've had a really good time. And where does all this produce come from? Well, I used to work as a vegetable distributor through my California organization, CalVeg. And after my trip up here, I just realized, that was one thing the people of Broken could really use is some fresh fruit and veg. So setting up a produce stand has been my life's dream, and I couldn't be happier. Tell me, you're a woman, alone, single in a small town of Alaska. Does it ever get a little difficult. The people here are friendly. Everybody's very nice to me. I have a wonderful time. But I mean, do you ever get a little lonely, Rose? You know, the winters are kind of long and dark. Coming up to be winter now, I guess, isn't it? It's fall and things are starting to die and... I'm not going to get lonely. Like I said, we got lots of friends here. Everybody's really outgoing and adventurous. And you know what? If we ever feel a little lonely, we'll get out there, we'll take a hike, we'll go rafting on the fabulous river, we'll go climb the mountain. No, I definitely do not get lonely. I don't get lonely. Not at all. Not at all. No lonely. You sure sound sure, Rose. Yeah, well, have a great time touring around Broken, and you make sure to tell those people in the documentary that Broken is a great place to visit. Thanks, Rose. Will do. Now, some have said that the A in Alaska stands for adventure, and in Broken, we take adventure seriously. You'll have so many choices of fun things to do during your stay, you might even have trouble deciding what to do first. Tourists can raft the wild waves of the Jack Hole River, one of Alaska's frothiest Class 4 rapids. They can rock climb on the beautiful cliffs of the nearby Aweepay Mountain, pan for real gold with eccentric local experts, or see the sights above Broken in a thrilling seaplane ride. Here we find our local rock climbing expert, the famous Carlos Del Valle. Carlos, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Barbara, thank you. I hate to correct you, but my name is actually Del Valle.
Right, Del Valle.
Yes, okay, very good, thank you.
Say, you're looking good, Carlos. Tell me some of the things that you do for adventure here in Broken.
Well, you named some of them. Going down the river is obviously a great time, but we also do the snowshoeing and we do the dog sledding, but those are winter activities. Not so many people on the cruise ship. It's more difficult to do those type of things in the summer. Some of the more popular things we do, we take people ice swimming.
Ice swimming?
You might have heard about that in some cities where it's the winter and the people get in the water and it's very cold. But here, you jump right into the water full of ice.
That sounds fascinating.
Well, that's a pretty good one. But for the more adventurous, we have things like the dolphin racing.
Dolphin racing?
Yes, we take the dolphin and we take you and we put you at the starting line and you can race the dolphin, swim against the dolphin. To be honest, and don't tell Peter, but we do tie down one of the dolphin's fins to give them a little bit of a disadvantage because otherwise, they wouldn't stand a chance.
Certainly, that makes sense.
Yes, and the other thing we do is the favorite sport of Broken, Alaska, I think, is called glacier jumping. So it's very much like bungee jumping, but without the bungee.
I see.
So people, I take them to the glacier and they jump in.
I don't actually see. I'm not clear on that one, Carlos.
Well, it's pretty simple. They jump in and then, slide down to the bottom. It go very, very fast because some of them are very, very steep.
That sounds exciting.
I'll tell you, you have not lived until you've jumped into a crevasse.
I have not lived then.
Well, I'll take you later. Come by.
Carlos, I think that sounds like a great idea. I noticed the few times I've met you that you don't tend to wear a lot of shirts. You have an amazingly impressive physique, and now I guess I can understand why with all these exciting exercises and adventures you do.
Well, I always believe that the fresh air is good for you, and I know it may seem strange because I am from Latin America that I would wander around in such a cold climate without a shirt on, but I don't know, it makes me feel alive.
Standing near you makes me feel alive too.
Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate that very much.
Oh, thank you, Carlos. Tell me, how does the tourist industry change in Broken over the course of the year?
Well, as I mentioned, some of the things like snowshoeing and dog sledding don't work so well in the summer because there's no snow. If somebody really, really wants to do it, what we do is we take the skates, I don't know how you say it in English, the rails off the sleds, and we replace them with wheels, and then we have the dogs pull you.
And I'm sure all of it is safety conscious.
Oh, yes. Very safety. It's number one is safety conscious.
I think the people coming up on the Queen of the Gulls are going to be thrilled with all the options they have here in Broken, Alaska.
I look forward to seeing them and taking them out so that they can live.
Anyway, Now, of course, not everything in Broken is all about fun. We go to church, too. During your visit, you're welcome to stop by our always open, non-denominational house of worship, the Chernigosk. It's part church, part synagogue, and part mosque, all wrapped up into one neat little god ball. Here we are, and the pastor, rabbi, imam, leader, Father Francis O'Bean is here to talk to us. My Father Francis O'Bean, what interesting decorations you have here in the Chernigosk.
Isn't it lovely? It's a bit of every religion and belief.
We see some of the more common things, like there's a cross, obviously, for Christianity.
Well, of course, my background is Catholic. That's trained as a Catholic priest in Cork, Ireland.
So you're welcome to all faiths.
I love all faiths. More than welcoming, I just love it. And that's what attracted me to Broken. I got here and I got off the ship, and Broken is like a tapestry of all sorts of people. And when I first got off the ship, it was Bert. Was the first a super positive man. He just welcomed me into the town, and I felt so good.
I heard a rumor about you, Father. Do you know what I'm talking about? Something about, a certain sport in your past?
Oh, yes. In my younger days, in my 20s, I was an Olympic athlete. I did badminton.
Badminton?
Oh, yes, yes.
So how many people usually come to a service here at the Chernigosk?
So sometimes, like most of the town, there's 71 right now, but we'll have like 51, 60 people come to a service. And we have a lot of services because we have all the Christian holidays. We have Hanukkah, we have Kwanzaa, we have Ramadan. Oh, so we have all kinds of services. I've even done a quinceañera for a young lady off the cruise ship one time.
Father Francis O'Bean, that's just lovely. Any parting words of advice?
I just think that when you step foot off the cruise ship, people should know that they are welcome here by everyone.
Thank you, Father.
And have them visit the church too.
Say, are you looking for the perfect honeymoon, getaway, or some grown-up fun time? Then Broken is the place for you. Right up here on the right, we see, near the end of Main Street, the Warren G. Harding Elementary, Middle, and High School. But you don't need to slow down to 20 when children are present here, because there are no children present here. We have people come and go around here, but we haven't had any kids since 1994. That's right, every hour is happy hour in Broken. On the left is our beautiful City Hall, which also serves as police station and fire department. The police chief and fire chief, Jim Sorensen, is probably out on patrol right now. Don't worry, though. In the event of an emergency, Sheriff Jim will be here in a jiffy. Broken can't afford a 911 service, but the sheriff has hung these shiny bugles all around town. In the rare event of trouble, just blow on one. Sheriff Jim will come a-running. Now, this is where our tour gets really good. You see that unmarked door on the other side of the water fountain? Now, don't tell anyone, especially the feds. But that's the home of Radio Free Broken, the town's pirate radio station. There's a secret knock to gain access, and lucky for you, I happen to know it. Thanks for letting us in here. This is Joey. Joey moved here just a couple years ago from the Big Apple and has been working through the journalistic ranks of Broken in pursuit of bigger goals. Looks like we're just in time for the Johnny 99 show. Let's have a listen and see what hot topics are being covered today.
Are there any other callers out there who would like to speak their mind? Any other Dharma pirates? Any other pioneers of the spirit? Martial founders? Sifus of the mind and the spirit and the disciplines?
Yeah, I got this lady she's a lady named Margaret, and she's got a couple important things she says she wants to say to us all here in Broken.
Margaret, please expostulate, expound.
Do you remember that big fire in 1983?
I remember it very well. It started out by the boat ramps when somebody got a little too carried away with the camel and a can of gasoline.
I remember it too, and do you know the only thing that saved us that day was our efficiency, our safety, and our organization, and I cannot stress that enough, that in this town, we need to remember to be organized and safe.
Absolutely correct, Margaret, and I am grateful that you chose to remind us of how important it is that we look after each other, because, brothers and sisters, we are all that we have.
Today I saw something on the sidewalk and I was not excited about it, Johnny. Do you know how you're supposed to walk on the right in this country? This is the American country. We are still in Alaska. You walk on the right. You do not walk on the left.
Would that be geographically or sociopolitically?
I made it by the hand that I write with, Johnny. The hand that I write with is the right hand, and you walk on the right, Johnny.
Right.
Okay, so I'm walking down Main Street. I come across George. He is walking on my side. I wanted to stress, we walk on the right in this country. That's all I'm saying. Goodbye, Johnny. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Who do we have next?
Yeah, seems like Heather here got back on the line. She hung up on me before, but now we do finally got Heather. Go for it.
As a member of the City Council, we here in Broken are so excited to have many opportunities for young people to come, and this wonderful documentarian. We are just so grateful to have her here, and I just want to say thank you, Johnny, for serving this community and being a wonderful member of it.
Thank you for your kindness.
Do we have time for one more, Johnny?
We have time for one more. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, Johnny. Do you know who this is?
How could I forget the dagger?
That's right, the dagger. And I'm back.
Time to go out and get me an angry dog if the dagger is back.
I don't know that day. Well, here we are back outside in Broken, Alaska, and Main Street is just as lovely and beautiful as ever. It sure got a little dark there in the radio station, but there are more exciting places we could go and more interesting, friendly people we could meet, but we're just about out of time. We hope you will agree that Broken is the ideal destination for your Alaskan adventure. Feel free to contact your travel expert to learn more about the adventure of a lifetime right here in Broken.
Broken, Alaska, the city with a future, was produced at the studios of Space 101.1 FM and starred Kari Aguila as Barbara and Rose, Julie Bragg as Heather, Michael Crowley as Mark and Johnny 99, Paul Einhorn as Brick, Mike Fuller as Bert, Carlos, Old Man Fletcher, the Dagger, and the announcer, Craig Nelson as Father Francis and Warren G. Harding. Carol Sparrow was Joey, George Wirtz as George. It was directed by Kay Laverne Jazz from a story idea by Mike Fuller and Kari Aguila. We'd tell you what's coming up next time in Broken, Alaska, but since it's improvised, you'll know as soon as we do.